So the next step is about production. So step three, and it's about production. And we start, first of all, I want to start with, a lot of times, people ask me, okay, but what, I don't want to spend a lot of money on a microphone. What microphone should I use? So you don't have to spend, the quick answer is that you don't have to spend a lot of money for a microphone. Microphones nowadays are really cheap, really, really good.
Yeah.
So what I use a lot of time is this microphone right here, Sennheiser SC60, and right now is at $40 on Amazon. Is not like the best quality, but for me it's easy. I put it on, when I do feedback for my workshop, great. If you want to spend a little bit more money, $25 more, you can buy this guy. And this guy, a lot of really, really good podcasters use it. It has an amazing audio quality. And a lot of people are asking me, what about, the Yeti Blue microphone? That is a great microphone. That's actually the one that I'm using right now. And but it does. A lot of people think that the Audio Technica works better. In fact, I'm gonna invest those $64 on buying it. The only thing about the Audio Technica is I believe it's not sold outside the United States. So that's just a little something.
Right.
Yeah. And so the thing about the Audio Technica is that for the Yeti Blue, like right now I cranked up the volume so that you can hear my voice well. But sometimes when you record a tutorial, you don't want to hear anything around you. You just want to hear the voice. So if I used the Blue Yeti, I have to turn down the volume so it doesn't pick up the room noises, and then I have to have it really, really close to and sometimes it's kind of uncomfortable. The Audio Technica has a very good, like it's much more narrow. The audio picks up doesn't pick up a lot of room noises, so you can crank up the volume and still get the voice really, really well. So that's that. So the next thing is the capture software. That's a lot of time people ask us about what capture software should I use. What we recommend is TechSmith Camtasia. We're not affiliated with them. We just like the product. So I invested, I don't know if I don't have a price on this, is either $125 or $250.
Yeah, I think it's the second one.
$250, okay.
I think.
Though it's a great product, and if you're serious about making tutorials, you will make that money back in a heartbeat. So really, really great. And I like it so much that I have a few features here. So the key features is that obviously it records your screen, but also has a multi-track editing. So instead of going to another software to do editing, you do it all in Camtasia, so you don't have to do anything. You don't have to render it and then re-render it after the editing, so it stays all in Camtasia. You can add annotation, like video annotations. You can add transitions, little animations, and also voice narration. And voice narration plays a big role in promotion as well, and I can talk a little bit about that as well. And you can also add audio and visual effects. So especially if you're doing tutorials on people that are people like, for example, on After Effects, motion graphics, kind of an audience, you kind of want to add a little bit of spice to the videos to show that you don't want to leave it bare for people to do that for a living.
If I could jump in, it also bears repeating that neither of us are sponsored by Camtasia.
Yes, exactly.
But it is fantastic. It's surprisingly good. When I first started, I tried using some free ones that I had found that will literally record your desktop and not much else. Or maybe they'll record your desktop and maybe even have a non-linear editor, like a multi-track editor. Although I don't know if there's any free ones to do that. Maybe there are. But there's just something about, it's been really nice working with Camtasia because it anticipates a lot of what you want to do for this kind of work. It has all the things that you mentioned there, but there's even lots of little things that it anticipates, like batch rendering of many movies. You can put like little markers along the way and it will just split them up for you and send them out. Like, it just does a lot. And these things that you've listed here is everything you need to do. So it's well worth it. And even though it does cost more than the microphone, the amount of time it will save you rather than wrestling with, I think, other, at least the other free solutions I've encountered, I'd be willing to be proven wrong. It just works great, and it makes that part of what is already a labor-intensive process, it makes it that much more manageable.
Yeah, and in the past, it's also worth mentioning that in the past, I've always used Camtasia for many, many years. But I do remember the time when, even though Camtasia has a editor, I was still going to Premiere because at that time, Camtasia would crash quite a bit.
Oh no!
But nowadays, nowadays in the past 3-4 years, they've done a really good job. Like I haven't had a crash, and
I don't think I've ever had one. I only started on Camtasia 7, so it's no idea what happened before that.
Yeah, I've received, like, it was not just my experience, but also from other
people. Yeah, I believe it.
Nowadays, it's really, really good product. But if you do not want to spend $250, there are some solutions out there, and I have not used these two solutions that I'm going to mention, but I've heard good things. So the first one is Screencast-O-Matic, and yes, Steve, this one also has an editor in there, on like Camtasia. And based on what I see from the website, it seems to be pretty solid, but the devil is also always in the details. And then the other one is OBS Studio. Oh, and one thing about Camtasia and Screencast-O-Matic is that there is both for Linux and Mac and PC. And OBS Studio is very intimidating, but it has a lot of functionality, especially if you want to do live streaming and stuff like that. But it's a little bit intimidating at first. But the nice thing about it is that A, is free, and B, it's for PC, Mac, and Linux. So, and if you guys have any other experience with any other free tools, I would love to hear.
Yeah, report back.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now with the hardware and software, talked about, talk a little bit about actual recording. So this is the area where I get a little nerdy, and so think about the disk location for your project. So this is, for me, it's very important. My time is very limited. I don't have a lot of time, and so any time that I can save, any chances that I can save time, I'll take. So, for example, disk location I usually use for my project, especially when I'm doing outline, the planning stuff. I usually choose a folder. There's either on Dropbox or Google Drive. So that way, where I'm everywhere, even on my phone, it's always synced up. So if I remember something that I want to add in my outline, I go into Dropbox, open it up, boom, done. Right, I added it. So it's really great. And also something that I like to think about is also the naming convention that I give to my videos, because it's true, the outline gives me a great structure, right? But I want to have that same structure on disk, right? So that it's easy for me to recognize which videos are for the first chapter, so that it's easy for me to upload and everything. So what I use is, for example, if a video is on Squash and Stretch, I would choose 1.001 and then Squash and Stretch done in MP4. That is like the first number one is the section, and then the first video in that section, and then the name of the video. So that keeps things in order on your disk, and it makes it very easy. Because like Steve said, it's already a big process. It's already a long process. So everything that you can do to stay focused and not having to deal with files named incorrectly, it's better that you do it. So this is a good way, a good thing to remember. Then when you're recording, the things that I like to give out this checklist, if you want to make a content that has nice continuity. So the things that you got to think about is the microphone position relative to the mouth. So I look at, like, if I use a headset with a microphone here, some people, because you want to avoid plosives, the p and those letters that will create, it's called a plosive when the air hits the microphone. You want to avoid those, right? So are you going to put your microphone below, or you're going to put a microphone above, right? Like I used to put it below, but now with this, I can't do it anymore. So now I put it above, things like that. So think about those things, and write it down so that next time what to do if you're going to record a video 2 weeks after today, kind of thing. Also the volume level, if you are going to work continuously on the same tutorial, you're probably not going to change the volume level, but do think about the volume level. You don't want to have too many it's good to have a volume that is low, because you can make the volume higher. But if you have such a high volume that the word gets distorted, you can't really save that. So make sure that never happens. Also, if you're on camera, you make sure that you think about your light setup. And like in this case, I have a couple of lights here. It's always good to be present.
Or in my case, it's very dark.
You still look good though.
Thank you. I try to like catch the light from the window a little bit.
Yeah, I mean sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, if I do this, it's dark again.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's very important that you mention, if you are not using lights at all and you're using light from the outside, think about that, because you might want to just record at the same time every day, so you get the same lighting throughout all of your videos. And of course, like I said before, keep your course outline in front of you. So those are the checklists that I like to give out to people. Then do a test recording, so that you can make sure that you go through that checklist, do the test recording. If the test recording goes well, it doesn't have to be long. It can be like 10-15 seconds. You read something, right? A lot of times when I used to do it without reading, I didn't know what to say in the test, and so it would not be a good test. Now I just have a piece of text in front of me and I just read that. And then these are some of the recording tips that I like to give out as well. When you are recording, you are going to make mistakes, right? So when you do make those mistakes, what I used to do in the past is to say, okay, I'm gonna because I just said something weird, or maybe I coughed, or maybe whatever reason, I used to stop the video and start over, right? Sometimes that's the only thing you can salvage your video, yes. But what I currently do is I continue, right? I cough, or I make a mistake, or I said something wrong, right? I pause for a few seconds so that later on I see the gap in the audio. So I pause and then I continue, go back a little bit and continue, right? So that way you can fix the errors later on. You can remove that section and then edit it and move forward. So that's saving me a lot of time. Sure. Like I said before, the video length should be between 5 and 7 minutes long, for the reasons that we explained before. And basically that's it. I mean, those are the two main tips that I give to people, and then the rest, it's up to you to decide what's your style and stuff. So those are the main two tips that I usually give out. And then editing. So after you recorded everything, you can record a video and then edit it right away, or you can record all of your videos and then edit it all later. It's up to you. And then doing editing, remove any mistakes and enhance the experience, right? So if you want to add any title animation, any annotations, any display shortcuts, that's something else that Camtasia does, is that every time you're talking and you use hotkeys on your keyboard, Camtasia records that. And so if you are telling, okay, copy this and paste it here, but you're forgetting that you're pressing Control-C, Control-V, there is a function that you can say, okay, display the shortcut that I used here. And on the screen, it draws Control-V, Control-C, Control-V on screen for you. So that's another great example of how Camtasia can help. So those are the things that usually happen during editing. So then after you've done all of this, so you've done this for all the videos, you have all the videos in the can ready to go, you start writing your description. And this description is something very important. A lot of people just write a couple of words. If the tutorial is how to rig in Maya, the description sometimes people write is rigging in Maya. That's it, right? Instead, because you did a lot of research, because you know what people are looking for, because you know what words people are using, try to use as much as possible and try to tell them, so describe how the course helps, right? So the first thing. And then again, think about keywords and SEO. So if you collected all the terminology during your research, this is the time to use it. You use as many of those keywords as possible, because it's great for SEO. For those of you who don't know, SEO stands for search engine optimization. And that's the way that Google it crawls into website pages and looks at this terminology, right? So if there is a lot of this terminology that has been used, Google ranks it higher. So if Google ranks it higher, there is a higher chance for that page to go in the first page of search result, which is the most important page, obviously, right? So very, very important. I can do a whole lesson on SEO. I love that subject because so then mention in your description, mention also who the course is for and who it is not for. You don't want to end up having people like if the tutorial is on for beginners and it's not clear, somebody that is an expert might end up getting it because he's thinking about something a little bit different, and then that person goes like, what is this? I don't like this tutorial, bad reviews and so forth. So be very, 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 very specific who the tutorial is not for, and you don't want to waste anybody's time anyway, right? So then one of the things that I always think about is that first sentence. The first sentence is the most important one because the user is gonna read it and they're gonna get either hooked or they're gonna change page or scroll down. So that's most of my thinking goes anyway. So an example of the first sentence should contain, the main pain point and solution, right? Like from your research, it should be easy to get what that is. And then what viewers will be able to do after watching. So you see the pattern here, right? Like you collected all that information, now you're applying that information here, and it's great, right? Like if you are in front of a tutorial and you say, oh, after this tutorial, I will be able to do A, B, and C. I don't know how to do that. That's great. Let me do it, right? Instead of saying, I'm going to teach you rigging or I'm going to teach you Houdini. Yeah, but what am I exactly going to be able to do after that, right? That's really, really important. So that's description. So now imagery. So imagery, obviously, we are in an industry that is very, very visual, right? It's called visual effects after all. And so it needs to be as appealing to your audience as possible, right? And when I say to your audience is that, there are some differences in sensibility, right? Your audience might have. So be aware of that and make it as appealing to them as possible because you want to catch their eyes because you want to be able to help them as much as possible. So also something that people recognize. This gets a little strange because, some people might use content that is very recognizable, but because of that, they might not have rights to put that image on. So be careful of that. But you still want to have something that is very recognizable. Then think brand. I think Steve here has done an amazing job when it comes to branding, because I have to look at the images of his tutorial for a fraction of a second and I know it's his tutorial, right? So great job there, Steve.
Thank you.
Right? So think brand. So if you come up with your own color scheme, all of your tutorials are going to have with your logo, if you want to go that far. Think of all the font that you use, think branding, right? So that people they can recognize that it's you. Very, very important. And of course, think promotion. So there are different levels of promotions. I have another course that I do another, like right now I don't do it to a big public. I do it one-to-one where I help people promoting their content. And one of the things that I go over in that regard is there are different not steps, but different I can't think of the term right now, but let's say different steps, right, in promotion. One of those steps, the first step is like you do SEO, you do all the keyword research and everything, right? The second step is like, okay, if you want to promote it, if you want to reach like potentially millions of people, you start doing like actual social media advertisement that you actually pay for, right? So think about that. Even if you don't want to do it right now, but think about that, and because your focus is on creating images for your tutorial. So you have all your assets in front of you. So what I would recommend at this stage is to also look at the main social media, like Facebook, Twitter, and see what they expect if you want to promote on their platform, if you want to advertise on their platform. See the image resolution that they want and create it already, right? Because you never know, you can use it later on, or if it's a platform like CG Circuit, we would ask you those images so that we can use and pay for and use it on Facebook for the promotion of your tutorial. So have it handy. It's always very helpful. But also something like the YouTube thumbnail, right? YouTube tries to do a good job at picking the best thumbnail, but creating a custom thumbnail, it's always good. And a word on YouTube. YouTube has a very, very powerful way of advertising. It's a little bit, it's not necessarily for everybody because it's a little bit complicated because you have to use YouTube, yes, but then you have to use also AdWords, which is a very complex machine, but we've had like amazing results with that. So again, do think about it at this stage. Do create those images because they're gonna open more doors for you later on. So the other thing is a promotional video. So the main promo video on CG Circuit, we give people the ability of upload all the content, obviously, but also there is a section dedicated to a promo video. The promo video is where is the video that gets played before people purchase your content. Is the only video that they can view. So the promo video, what I would do is I would do it 1 to 2 minutes long. And then show visually the interesting parts of the course. And also when you do that, when you create it, be clear about, again, who the tutorial is for and not for, and also what the viewer will be able to do afterwards. Again, that pattern, right? And then if your content comes with example files, talk about it, right? Because people love to be able to download files when they purchase a tutorial or following a tutorial so that they can follow along. So give them an idea of how the structure of those example files is so that they know how to use them. So this is another thing that we recommend to people is to create a promotional magnet. That's what name that we're giving it. It's basically what it is. Basically, is a video that you will give out for free, right? This is in case you want to generate revenues, right? Or to reach a lot of people. You can use this video posted on YouTube, on Vimeo. It's given out for free. And what it is really is basically if you take the videos of all the videos of your tutorials and you choose a section of your tutorial that is kind of interesting, right? And you edit it, you take it out of your tutorial and edit it out, right? In a way that is self-contained. And then you use a voiceover to basically tell what you're doing in those steps. So you can give it out to people so that people can get used to your teaching style. They can see if you give already some values for free to people. And so, of course, if you're using it on YouTube, you can post that for free. And then in the description of YouTube, you can have a link that points back to your big, more complex content or tutorial. So, Steve, I'm really curious about this one.